Hello everyone, this is Marco and welcome back to my channel. And from now on, this is Jurassic June. I will be making a few videos dedicated to celebrate the Jurassic franchise. This will include some hand sculpting videos, some toy reviews, and who knows, maybe even some gameplay too. So sit back and relax and enjoy this Jurassic June. Hello everyone, this is Marco and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be having a look at this really cool Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory BECKLESPINAX. This is part of the Epic Evolution line, the dinosaurs with all these crazy spikes coming out and everything, a bit like the T-Rex with the growing teeth. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these figures, but this one is really cool and I'll tell you why in this video. Before we have a look at the figure, let's have a look at the packaging. So I believe this packaging was designed by Neems, who is the guy that designed the Jurassic World posters back in the day. I remember he did a really cool Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom poster, and Universal saw it and said, okay, we're using that one from now on. So congrats on Neems for working on this. It looks really cool. There's a Jurassic World logo there. It looks to be in the American desert. There's a road down there, deserty mountains over there too. Nice sort of orangey feel to it. It looks really nice. And there's some pictures here showing you how to use the action features. As this is a Chaos Theory toy, there is Darius right there with the main baddie, the Allosaurus. On the back of the box we have a more green look to everything. And there's a nice picture of the BECKLESPINAX figure there with some more pictures about the action features and that it's got sound effects too. There is the classic scan code that you can scan for your app, and here's a couple more releases for this line. Let's take this thing out of the box. To do so, I just cut the strings here, and it does have some twisty things on the bottom of the feet, like for every big carnivore that Mattel releases. So we have to access that, twist the black plastic round and release the toy. Just a quick note, the feet do swivel round. That's so it sits better in the box without taking up too much space. And here's the figure out of the box. It's incredibly striking. And as soon as I saw the promotional pictures, I thought, oh my goodness, this sculpt looks beautiful. Look at all that detail. It's just a very appealing looking toy. I've recently found that Mattel's new figures don't really catch my eye as much. I haven't been collecting as many figures as I want to, but none of them really did catch my attention much at all. Either because the paint jobs are a bit lackluster or the sculpt's a bit off, but this one just seems to nail pretty much everything. It's just something about this sculpt really caught my attention, and I possibly think and believe that this toy sculpt looks even better than the actual animal itself in the show. But let's take a closer look at the sculpt. First of all, I must commend Mattel with finally getting some proportions a bit nicer than usual. We have a bit smaller feet, a bit more realistic than the massive feet that they usually give their figures. And the tail might seem a bit longer, I'm not too sure on that, but at least it still stands perfectly, and it does look a bit more realistic because of the better proportions. Although the dinosaur in the show does seem to be a little bit slimmer, this does still look really good. The thing that really caught my attention is that head sculpt. Look at that detail on there, it is exquisite. Not just that is really good, but also the teeth. Look at that. Something Mattel has been doing right lately is going and designing teeth that are completely made of rubber. That means that they can make thinner teeth and much sharper too. They usually did bigger teeth for safety reasons. They just wanted to cover their own backs, for lack of a better word. If the teeth were hard plastic, then they would be a bit too sharp and they might harm the child. Okay, all right, calm down. but the fact that these are rubber means that they can make them really sharp, and they look really good. Also, the inside of the mouth is sculpted very nicely, and everything is pigmented perfectly too. Look at the detail on the top of the head. You can see all these big ridges and scales right there. It looks phenomenal. Generally, the sharpness of the detail on this figure is really good. Now, I'm not a massive fan of these big spikes. It does look a little cheesy to me, but that's just a personal preference. I think I would have preferred it without. It looks a bit more realistic to me, but hey, that's just how they designed it in the show. I want to point out all these folds in the skin here. They didn't just sculpt the figure and then put scale detail on. They just added that extra step with the folds in the skin, and that really does sell the realism and generally makes the figure look a lot nicer. But they've added all these wrinkles on the body as well. Let me turn the figure around. There's more space to look at it here. And this just feels like real reptile skin. Well, I shouldn't say feel, it looks more like reptile skin when it bunches up together and it forms these wrinkles. That's very nice attention to detail. And it has it throughout the whole sculpt. You have it here on the thighs and on the tail as well. It's very nice. It's almost verging onto too many of them, but it looks great nonetheless. The arms are very muscly. Look at that, very muscular arms. Quite thick as well, and big clawed hands. Unfortunately, the claws aren't painted, but we'll get to the paint job later. Going back to the legs look like they're a good size. I think they're a bit longer in the show, but it looks great anyway. It doesn't look off at all. Again, looking at the wrinkles on the skin, there's some lovely wrinkling going on in the knees, which is gorgeous. And then the smaller feet, although the feet are a bit too wide than they should be, but it doesn't matter at all. That looks great. It does have this strange sail on the top. At first, a lot of people thought that this was meant to be a concavinator, but then we were all surprised when they announced it as BECKLESPINAX, which is interesting because BECKLESPINAX isn't actually a real species anyway. There was a dinosaur described as BECKLESPINAX, but then it got renamed into ARTEZA. It does have the scan code there as well. Nicely hidden. We go down to the tail. There are some spikes up here which are part of the action feature, which we'll see soon. And then there's plenty of these wrinkles and very fine little scales going all the way down to the tip of the tail. Before we have a look at the action features, let's talk about the paint. The paint does look like what we see in the show. It's very well applied, very crisp indeed, and the fact that they pigmented the plastic in the mouth and for the teeth means that they could cut down on paint apps. Pigmented plastic, in my opinion, looks better than adding a layer of paint onto, let's say, teeth or the mouth. This looks gorgeous. Same thing applies for these spikes on top. These are pigmented plastic, and the whole figure is pigmented with this green here. Now this figure was £40, which is quite a bit more in dollars. I think it's verging around $50. Unfortunately, for that price point, I expected a bit more paint. The animal in the show has got the white going all the way down to the tip of the tail. It does make this figure look a little cheaper than it should look, unfortunately. Also, the unpainted claws on such a big, expensive figure is a pretty big letdown, and it just screams how Mattel are just trying to cut corners on everything just to line their pockets a bit, because, you know, they're a corporation and that's what they do. So it would have been really nice to have that white going all the way down to the tip of the tail. I might add that in the future. We'll see. It does have these brown accents on the spine, and here there's a stripe on the neck that continues down to the stomach, and the arm is pigmented in that same brown too, and the head is painted with that brown. It's more like a purple brown really, with some orangey brown patterns on over it. Now let's have a look at the action feature. The action feature is controlled by these wheels here on the back, which is the gimmick of the Epic Evolution stuff. I know a lot of people don't like this turny wheel action feature. The action feature controls the neck movements, the jaw movements, and these spikes on the back. And let's give it a go. Overall, the BECKLESPINAX is a gorgeous toy. It has some really seriously good sculpting going on, and the paintwork could be a little bit better, but it's still really appealing. It's purely because it's based on the show itself, and I feel like the show designers put a lot of effort into the coloring of their dinosaurs, more so than Mattel does for their original figures. That's probably my theory on why this dinosaur looks so appealing. Probably give this figure an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. If they added the coloring on the belly and some painted claws, also the dew claw isn't painted, but that's just classic Mattel, this would be a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. Absolutely gorgeous figure, and I really recommend you get this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.